We finally arrive at the fifth way, governance of the world. As always, he begins with what he regards as an empirical observation. And the observation beginning the fifth way is this. He asserts that things which lack knowledge, such as natural bodies, act for an end. And these natural bodies would include obvious things like, water, rocks, and larger things like, stars and so forth. So why think that they act for an end, to achieve a goal? Well, he claims that this is evident from their acting always, or nearly always, in the same way to obtain the best result. And so he infers from this that it is plain that they achieve their end not fortuitously, not by chance, but designedly. Why? Well, what he thinks is this. Whatever lacks knowledge cannot move towards an end unless it is directed by a being with knowledge and intelligence. And he draws an analogy to an arrow being directed by the archer, or the remote control directing the television. Not his example, of course. So what he infers is, from this, that since there is this design, there must be some intelligent being exist who directs all natural things to their end. And this, of course, is God. Now, this argument is known more generically, and there are other variations of it, as the argument from design. And the generic version is this. You look at the world, and it seems to have a design. There can be no design without a designer, and the only designer who could do this would be God. Therefore, God must exist. Now, this aims at explaining the order of the world, because if we look at the world, we may disagree that things always act to obtain the best result, especially, for example, during the current pandemic, pretty clearly not aiming towards the best result. And of course, accidents happen, you have tornadoes and so forth, but that's a problem of evil, which we'll see in the future. But there's the question of how things work so consistently and orderly. And the explanation offered by St. Thomas Aquinas is, of course, God. Now, there are alternative explanations that people have offered, of course, that this all happens by, the laws of nature with no God behind them, or by chance. But his inference essentially is that there's an order to the world, there must be an intelligent being guiding all this, and this being we call God. So that concludes the fifth way, the way of governance of the world. Next, we'll look at some common mistakes in interpreting the five ways, as well as some other issues with them.